Welcome to Shout It Out, a Glitterband podcast hosted by Warren Paul and Andy Chamberlain. Goodbye, my love, part 1. Our theme comes courtesy of Glenn Greenwood and John Springate.
Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to play their new record, aren't you?
Yep, we are, yes.
Yeah, which you wrote, and you're going to sing it.
Slightly.
So without any more ado, here's John to sing their new record out this week, Goodbye, My Love. Fantastic. Oh.
Was Dave Eager, host of Tiny T's Geordie Scene. I guess if you didn't know where it was recorded, the company's name and that of the show, might just give it away. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Warren. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Good.
Yeah. So, for those that aren't familiar with UK TV scene and geography and what have you, the Geordie Scene show was actually produced in a town called Newcastle in the UK, in England.
Now, Newcastle is fairly north, is it, Andy?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Bayek is.
Now, in these podcasts, we've tried to avoid days and dates unless chronologically necessary, but that's changing for this one. There was so much happening in the couple of months that we're about to cover that this episode will be incomplete without going into diary-type detail. Andy, what happened on Tuesday, the 7th of January, 1975?
Well, that was the day the Geordie Scene special with the Glitter Band on it went to air on Tiny T's TV, as we say in the northeast of England and North Yorkshire. Apart from Goodbye My Love, 5 other tracks were also performed live on the show. And what's unusual about this date is that the show went to air 3 days before the single was actually released.
And coincidentally, 3 days later, on Friday the 10th, the show went to air on London ITV. Good timing, as the Goodbye My Love single was released that day. On the following Sunday, if you're in Wales, you could have seen the Geordie Scene on HTV.
Yeah, so we spoke about the Geordie Scene on one of our Hay Round Table episodes with our guests Susan Shepherd, Joe Swinton and Richard Kenner. Sort of one or more of our guests couldn't actually recall seeing the show on the TV. So it does appear that the Geordie Scene may not have actually gone to air all over the UK at the time, or even as repeats later.
The show was taped in late December. As the studio version of Goodbye My Love had been recently recorded, the Geordie Scene performance was probably the first time the song had been performed live. And Andy, I guess it was probably also Harvey Ellison's debut on live guitar.
Yeah, on the slide guitar, yeah. So he's playing slide guitar chords underneath Jerry's lead guitar and rhythm guitar, yeah.
Before then, I think on all of their live performances, he probably had only played sax, I would guess.
Oh yeah, he'd been taught this specifically for this song, 100%. He'd never played really guitar before that. Maybe had a try at it, but he couldn't play guitar. Obviously, he knew scales, so if he knew scales, he knew where the starting point was, which was A. He knew generally where he had to reach to get the chords that were required. So, that's how he came about playing the guitar on songs like that.
There was a comment in John Berlin's excellent Harvey's biography, which unfortunately I think might be sold out. But there was one of his school friends, I think a woman, who said he was the sort of person musically who could turn his hand to anything.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't play guitar, to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure that's the case. I mean, you can generally tell from a lot of performances that Jerry's really watching him, even though he's only playing, up and down the scale. Jerry's watching closely, almost for the camera and audience's benefit. to let them know that it's subconsciously that he's, trained him to do that. That's my take on it, and I'm pretty sure I'm right that.
Oh yeah, look, what his school friend would have been saying, probably talking about the school orchestra or something like that, Andy, where he's playing a.
Oh yeah, I'm not putting Harvey down. Please do not misunderstand me, but it's no point pretending somebody can play an instrument when they can't.
He started playing bass a bit later on too, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Funnily enough, I've played in bands where sax players also play bass.
There's
just be a bit more handy, I suppose.
There's a photo of him backstage before a show where he's practicing. Have you seen that? He's got a bass in his hand.
No.
Yes, he's just sitting there practicing. And I thought he did a really good job on Where Have You Been from Mike Mansfield's Super Pop, which we'll talk about in a few episodes' time, where he replicates Springy's bass part on that. And I think he does a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Right.
Indeed.
In the same week...
Well, again,
Yep, go on.
You can ask John when he's available, about that whole progression.
Well, like as you said about Jerry with guitar, you'd assume that John probably taught Harvey bass.
I guess so, yeah. We'll find out.
In the same week that the Geordie Scene went to air, there was a short article in Record Mirror about the Glitter Band's forthcoming single.
It's titled Goodbye from Glitter. The Glitter Band, now without John Rossall, have a new single out on January the 10th, which marks a slight change in direction for the band. On the A-side is a Jerry Shepherd song called Goodbye My Love, and on the B-side is a Pete Phipps song, Got to Get Ready for Love. As usual, it's produced by Mike Leander.
Do you know what's unusual about that short article?
No.
There's not one mistake. You know how there's...
Well, there is, because they spelt Shepherd with an E
there is
rather than A.
Well, it's close. Let's call it 99.
That's a typo.
Yeah, I know. But you know how they always get something wrong?
Yes.
But they did. They got Jerry's name, but they got JR's name right. We'll assume the date's right. Slight change in direction. Jerry Shepherd song on the A side. Pete Phipps track on the B side. As usual, the single is produced by Mike Leander. So I'm prepared to give that one a 9.5 out of 10, Andy. Not so much for the next one. This comes from our very good friends at the New Musical Express, and this is the first review that we have for Goodbye My Love. So I'll read the whole review. Glitter Band, Goodbye My Love, Bell. A bit limp after Angel Face, and I bet they bagged Angel Face. The main heresy herein lies in the band's attempted introduction of a melody. I trust their fans won't let them get away with it, but fear they will. You got the next one, Andy.
Yeah. So, this is Coventry Evening Post. The Glitter Band have at last changed style, albeit only a little. On Jerry Shepherd's Goodbye My Love, thumping dual drummers and clapping, but no saxophone. The tragedy of its reaching the charts, as undoubtedly it will, is that so many people could do it so much better. John Springate's voice has about as much emotion as a plate full of kippers. Music for the brainwashed.
Yeah. Well...
Nasty.
Yeah, very but nasty and also ignorant. Now,
yeah.
While we were preparing this podcast, I had listened to Goodbye My Love through a tinny computer speaker, and I could clearly hear saxophone. And as you've just heard, this reviewer wasn't complimentary at all about the song, in particular singling out John's vocal. Due to the wonders of technology, we've isolated part of that vocal. You be the judge.
Darling, please don't leave me now. I need you more than ever. Don't be sad, don't let me see you cry. I'll love you forever. Think of me when you are far away. Think of me at least once every day.
The only criticism I'd make is that on the record, John's vocal is maybe a touch low in the mix. But the vocal itself is great. To my ear, John's vocal style is comparative to something Brian or Carl Wilson of the Beach Boys could have delivered around the time of the Pet Sounds album. The track God Only Knows comes to mind. Andy?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it is low in the mix, really, but it's not something to belt out because it's, it's a track that's released. As we know, live, John could go into Robert Plant mode and belt songs like that out, but I think it's right for the song. So what this person was talking about is cobblers.
Yeah.
Certainly, up there, that vocal, with the greats like Brian or Carl Wilson or others.
And Jerry was a big fan of the Beach Boys, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it could have been his suggestion for John to perform the vocal in that manner.
No, could be. Joint effort between him and Mike, or, collaboration.
Now they're calling. It's time for you to go. One more kiss before you're leaving. Now you're boarding. As they close the doors, I hear the engine softly screaming.
After all that we've said previously, people might be wondering why we've just dropped that in. But that's the middle eight towards the last chorus. And you can see that, there's a definite plan to lift that last chorus through this middle eight. So he's really singing like, you would hear him live. A lot more power, a lot more emotion to build up to that really fantastic final chorus. So whoever, just said that, whether it was just a natural thing, it's a really, really effective way of building up to that, memorable chorus at the end. So, that whatever that reviewer was talking about, you obviously hadn't listened to the whole song.
Although I think on the record, the power gets lost a little with Mike's production. Like I understand Mike's production. It's a production of its time, but it almost sounds like Springy's trying to break through Mike's wall of production. Andy. Let's move on with the reviews, and I think I might handball the next review to you, Andy.
Okay, I wonder why. So this is from the Pontypridd and Llantrisant Observer.
That's why.
That's why, yeah. Also a cert for the charts is the Glitter Band's new one, Goodbye My Love. With or without the big G, the band seem more than able to cope, and this new disc is a pleasant change from all the stamp of all their previous songs. A move in the right direction. Amen.
And the next one is positive. It comes from Record Mirror. Well, you might think on hearing the opening few bars, oh, another Bang Bang Glitter Band record, but listen on and you'll hear a whole new sound from these lads. The chorus bars have a similar sound to some of their earlier material, but the main verses are sung against a much quieter sound and the production is much more subtle. A very shrewd move to avoid getting put in the same old sound category. Should do very well for them.
And here's our last Goodbye My Love review, and this is courtesy of Disc Magazine. Stomp, Clap, Whop. My goodness, it actually sounds a bit different to their other singles. Quite different, in fact. It's rather long, but nevertheless commercial. They've got some lyrics in this time instead of some repetitive phrases. And you can hear them. In places it's soft and the chorus is very catchy. Top marks for all those things, and the best of luck with a good effort, lads. And we'd like to thank Gary Pryor, who posted that review on one of the Facebook pages a little while back. Obviously caught our attention, so we saved it up for this podcast. Thank you, Gary.
Yes, thank you, Gary. We haven't got much material from Disc, which is a shame because it appears there was someone working at that music mag who, particularly from Goodbye My Love onwards, took the Glitter Band's music seriously. If anyone has any relevant copies of Disc, please send us a message. Andy, we're going to go back to our very good friends at Musical Express. And do you remember in our last episode that we had a mystery review and a mystery song, which they absolutely bagged? And it turns out it was Killer Queen by Queen. So we have another music review from Musical Express. This one, I think, is a couple of weeks after Goodbye My Love. Even if this was a good song, Act X's obnoxious phrasing, a synthesis of Lou Reed, Bowie and Ian Hunter, would deter many a prospective listener. Well, it's not a good song, and it's rather reminiscent of his last act, last record, I should say, which also employed those irritating stop-go instrumental vocal touches. The acoustic guitars are what is often referred to as crisp, and the backup ooh-la-las sound inspired by the Beatles, ooh-la-las via the Rubber Soul or Revolver. That's not a great review, Andy, is it?
No, it's not.
All right, better listen to the song.
You've done it all. You've broken every code. Appalled the rebel to the floor.
Have you heard that one before, Andy?
I certainly have. Yeah, it's not one of my favourites, but it's a good production and it's very, very popular, so strange.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, according to NME, it's not a good song. So it wasn't just the Glitter Band, was it?
No, it wasn't. They're just completely round the twist. They just didn't get anything right when it comes to most of those reviews, really.
Yeah, seems to be the case. 5 days after Goodbye My Love hit the shops, the Glitter Band were on top of the pops. The show was taped on Wednesday the 15th and went to air the next day. The record had just scraped into the top 40 at 47, but that's hardly surprising as the chart was compiled on Mondays and sent to the BBC the next day. The number 47 position seems to have come from 2 days of sales. And it looks like the band were about to have a rare break. It appears the next commitment was a short tour at the end of the month. Is that right?
Now, we have an article from the Birmingham Mail, really, that elaborates on that thing about having a rare break or not. This is basically, to quote the magazine, Morgan Studios, London, on a January afternoon resounds to sturdy sax playing and a solid beat of drums. The Glitter Band are laying down tracks for album number 2, and John Springate takes some time off to talk. What we're doing at present is getting together about 24 tracks so that we have a big choice of material. We did that first album in a matter of hours. This one is taking ages. On our first, it was a matter of getting down the kind of things we've been playing live. But John says the band are now writing a mass of fresh material, though they expect some standard rock and roll numbers will find their way onto the album itself. Learning fresh songs takes time. One new song is the current single, Goodbye My Love, which is penned by Jerry Shepherd. John adds, people have been saying all our songs are sounding alike. I don't know about that, but there's no doubt of the difference in this one. And talking of difference, on the second album you'll be hearing more vocals from me, though I don't know if people yet distinguish who sings what lead vocal.
If I could just add a comment about the vocals. I did a quick count. He ended up with as many lead vocals on the second album as he did on the first.
Yeah.
The other interesting thing, I suppose, is, mind you, it's great having an article like this, isn't it, Andy? Because there's so much stuff about their clothes, which is wonderful, and all the stuff, but this is actually about the process of making the music. I suppose one thing, they're in Morgan Studios, so from what John says, what we do at present is getting to about 24 tracks. It sounds like they're just putting demo versions of the tracks down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what would that be, Andy? They're just sorting the bits of material out. They're trying a few ideas, do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, initially they might sort of have half a song, as we know. We've got stuff and adding it and trying that. I don't know whether they did that as two of them working it out and then getting together with others. I mean, as we know, generally it was John, Pete, and Jerry.
Yep. At that stage,
Harvey would come down at the time that he needed to.
Yep.
I mean, maybe at the beginning they tried to be all together, but certainly the songs like Goodbye My Love they had to go through because they're putting it out as a single, so they need to really know that.
Now, there is a pretty good pre-release or demo version of that, isn't there? So you'd think that might have been one of the ones they did at Morgan Studios at that time.
I mean, certainly there was a definite plan to get everything sounding as good as possible, to put the best case forward.
24 tracks, Andy.
To Mike. Yeah.
And the fact is, by the way, I don't think he's exaggerating. I reckon if we went through all the unreleased bits off Rock and Roll Dudes, I think there'd be about 12.
Yeah.
And that'd be 24 a lot.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he wasn't,
Absolutely right,
he's
yeah.
not exaggerating.
I mean, that just exploded.
Well, the writing did.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, and, considering how few there were on the first album, and okay, they didn't have time before they recorded that, but wow, they've certainly made up for it.
Once the Glitter Band sorted out the basic tracks of what was to become the Rock and Roll Dudes album, they were off to Northern Ireland. On Thursday the 30th, they played at the Flamingo Entertainment Centre in Ballymena, the Friday at King's Club at Bangor, and Belfast Romano's Ballroom on Saturday the 1st of February. It appears they opened those gigs with this song.
Games up.
That's short enough, Andy?
Yeah.
That was obviously a very short snippet of Games Up. We'll talk more about the song when we cover Rock and Roll Dudes, which will cover a couple of earlier versions of Games Up. That does seem a little odd, Andy. Why would they open a gig with a new song that the audience had never heard?
Well, there is a clip that I just want to refer to. Hit group Hello released a new single on February the 14th, which has been written for them by Jerry Shepherd and John Springate of the Glitter Band, together with Eddie Seago. It is called Games Up, and it's coupled with Do It All Night, written by the group themselves. The band continue their current series of concert and ballroom tours and have 2 televised spots. And they appear on Geordie Scene on March the 22nd, and they'll also be on Saturday Scene. So, yeah, there's publicity for this song being released by Hello as a single.
Yeah, so it was released, 2 weeks after the Irish gigs?
Yeah.
I think they also did I Can't Stop at that time.
Yeah.
I haven't found it, but I can recall many years ago seeing a review where actually the reviewer liked that song, they highlighted it. And I think that was around that time.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be right. I mean, obviously, they want to capitalise on getting that song heard and recognised so that they can get the sales on it from Hello as a single, which would be very beneficial to them, and also stamp their claim that actually they were the writers of it.
Possibly the idea was that the audience hear this song. It is the first song. It stands out. And I mean, I guess from the chorus, the name's fairly obvious, and they hopefully go off to the record shops and order it in.
Yeah.
The end of
Unfortunately, they didn't.
Yes, that's right. Although, it snuck into the top 50.
Yeah.
It's in one of those breaker type charts things. So, can you remember hearing that on the radio?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and they didn't make Top of the Pops either, did they?
No, definitely not.
The end of January, early February seems to be a fairly straightforward time for the Glitter Band. 3 gigs in Northern Ireland, back home for a few days, then off to Scotland for a similar sized tour. Is that right, Andy?
Yeah, apart from 3 TV appearances that went to air at the same time as the Irish tour, yes. So we have a clip from, I think this is obviously a TV paper or something, because it talks about Anglia TV.
Yep.
And this is from 30th of January 75. And it talks about at 5:20 p.m, Rock On with 45. They used to just be the backing group for superstar Gary Glitter, but now the Glitter Band, who appear with their new single Goodbye My Love, are stars in their own right. Yet they have not split from Gary. Also in 45 will be Lindisfarne. Then we know that on the 30th,
Same day,
Goodbye My Love was featured on Top of the Pops. Presenter was Tony Blackburn. And then on the 31st,
next day,
Crackerjack went out, and according to Daily Mirror, I think it was, at 5 o'clock, Crackerjack with Ed Stewart and the Glitter Band. So that's, 3 TV appearances in very short succession. Now, I think we all know that Top of the Pops was always recorded the day before it went to air. And at the time, it would have been shot in London. So the band would have already been in the White City Television Centre the day before the first Irish show, which is obviously how, they came to do 2 separate recordings there.
Have you got that clip there of the...
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's an interview where they're at Top of the Pops, and I think we've concluded that it would have to be that Goodbye My Love performance. And here's the article. Hanging about for 6 hours in a small windowless room at the Top of the Pops studio can't be many folks' idea of fun or fame.
If you're under the illusion that a pop star's life is always a thrill-packed whirl of screaming fans, Rolls Royces and nightclubs, then we've got news for you. You've got things a bit wrong, unless of course you find endlessly hanging around waiting for rehearsal calls and photographers. And Jerry Shepherd doesn't find that glamorous. We don't go on Top of the Pops till 7. But we've all been here since 11 this morning, Jerry grinned.
And there's a whole lot of other sort of stuff in this article about boiling eggs and cooking and the normal sort of stuff. But we'll go through to the end, where Jerry features again, because it was practical jokes time. Poor Jerry only had to go to the fitted wardrobe to get his jacket, and the lads were up and at work. Bang went the door, and Jerry was in there for keeps, with the rest of the lads heaving up against it so he couldn't get out. Poor lad. All right, Andy, the word or the expression stir crazy comes to mind.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If you're a glitter band fan living in Ballymena, Thursday the 30th of January 1975 was a great day. At about 9 to 10 o'clock in the evening, you could have seen the glitter band in concert at the Flamingo Entertainment Centre. A couple of hours before that, you could have watched them on Top of the Pops, and a couple of hours before that, you could have seen them play live on ITV's Rock on 45, recorded at the Hard Rock Discotheque in Stretford, Manchester, and I'm assuming that show went to air in Northern Ireland. Andy, did you see that performance? I've also just discovered they did Just For You a few months earlier. Not sure whether it was live, though.
No, I haven't seen that either.
There's been a few photos, haven't there?
Yes, yeah, but I don't remember seeing that either.
And the Just For You one again, that's a new one, because I'd never heard of that till we found that. While we haven't found the Glitter Band's appearances, we have managed to find a few other performances from Rock on 45. Unfortunately, it appears they may be the only ones that have survived.
Yeah, so the first one is by Lulu, and it's the song "Take Your Mama for a Ride."
And Andy, that's definitely worth a look for a couple of reasons. One is I don't think all of the Rock on 45 performances were shot at that nightclub. This one definitely is, and there's a really funny bit at the start because it's not a recording from the show; it's actually a recording of the performance. So there's a few seconds at the tape at the start. And right at the start, you see Lulu turn around with a look of absolute daggers. And the reason for that is, I mean, Lulu would have done how many TV appearances would she have done at that time, Andy? She would have done...
hundreds.
She really knew what she was doing. And what's happened is there's a camera behind her, and I suspect she didn't know that the track was going to start with that shot, and she just turns around, and the look on her face, and quite rightly so, she's thinking, what's going on? Then all of a sudden the track starts and the smile starts and everything. I reckon that's the ultimate pro, I'd say, Andy.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth a look for that.
I'll look for that. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's worth a look.
The other footage is Hot Chocolate with Sherry Babe. They appear to be playing live in that. And the other one is Sweet, and it's You're Not Wrong for Loving Me, and Lady Starlight, again, live.
Though those Sweet tracks are live, I'm pretty sure they're in the studio. I don't think they're at the club. But out of that lot, the Lulu one is definitely at the club. So if you just want to get a feel for what the Glitter Band performance was like, I'd search that one out. Our 3-day story gets better, but if you're a Glitter Band member, you'd probably disagree. On the day of the Irish Tour's second show in Bangor, the band also were booked for another TV performance. This time it was the BBC's Crackerjack. Crackerjack went to air live. The band must have flown in from Belfast for rehearsals, opened Crackerjack with Goodbye My Love at 5 o'clock, and then jumped onto a plane back to Belfast for the Bangor show. Fortunately, that gig was between the hours of 8 o'clock and 1 the next morning. You'd assume the Glitter Band's performance didn't start at 8:30. There's one other possibility. That part of Crackerjack may have been a pre-record, but I think that seems unlikely. Andy, can you tell us a bit about that show? I suppose, as in Crackerjack, I suppose one good piece of news is that the Crackerjack footage has survived and you can see it on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anybody's clamouring to see the show itself. They're probably clamouring to see the band on it and bands on other episodes, but It was all generally chaotic sketches and testing kids on various things to win little prizes. Crackerjack pencil or pen or whatever it was. And shouting Crackerjack every time somebody said Crackerjack. It was a kids show, really.
But it was live, which is it was pretty ambitious, being live.
Yeah. I think it probably more. I think it could have been a glitter band pre-record of the song.
But John Springate has told a story of flying into London to do... Well, I think John's details are a bit different to this, but I've just got a feeling he may have been talking about Crackerjack. Now, I'll get this wrong, but I think John was talking about flying in from either Ireland or Scotland, and he talks about having to go in and do the BBC Top of the Pops pre-record for Goodbye My Love. Now, looking at for these dates, I don't think that's right, but I think he was probably talking about the Crackerjack TV performance. And you could understand him not quite getting the details right, because as looking at this, they were just so busy at this time.
Well, obviously, as you said, the good news is that clip survived.
Indeed.
Thank goodness. Yeah, good clip. And for more good news about the Ireland shows, we've got a couple of clips from magazines or papers talking about those. First one is titled Sparkling Success. It says, talking of the Glitter Band, they seem to have gone down a storm in their recent tour of 3 venues in the north. There were capacity houses in the Flamingo, Queen's Court and Romano's. Apparently such was the crush outside that the doors eventually gave way. Trevor Kane nostalgically pointed out that this was the first time in 5 years that Romano's has been packed out.
Wow.
Another one entitled Gloom on the Scene.
And that's about a month and a half later, isn't it?
Yeah. Just basically saying Romano's has closed down again, which is a shame. So, yeah.
And I think in that article, the bloke running Romano's, he actually mentions the Glitter Band and no other acts, talking about how they packed the venue.
Yes.
So it looks like that tour was a big success.
Yeah, very much. I mean, it's short, but, it's great that, the effort of going in to do those 3 shows obviously paid off for them.
And we have 3 days, those 3 shows, and 3 TV appearances covering Northern Ireland, Manchester and London, Andy. They were working, weren't they?
Well, incredibly so. I mean, obviously, financially, the more gigs they got in, presumably quicker financial return to them, if nothing else. Not being cynical, but
it seems like there was a real determination to get Goodbye My Love to number 1.
Yeah,
and they got close.
Yeah, they did. Well, we've been doing a lot of talking, so maybe it's now time for some music again. Let's listen to part of the Top of the Pops appearance that we mentioned. If you listen carefully, it is slightly different to the record.
Darling, please don't leave me now. I need you more than ever. Don't be sad, don't let me see
Even though some of the preceding Glitter Band TV appearances had slightly remixed backings and the odd live vocal embellishment, this appears to be the first one that's a complete re-recording. I know we've touched on this topic in a previous podcast, but we reckon it's worth revisiting.
Yeah. This article is from Record Mirror, and it's entitled Live Backing for Elton's Veto. So Elton John is refusing to appear on Top of the Pops and is getting support from other stars, though none of them have yet made a similar decision. Elton's refusing to appear because of a musician's ruling, meaning that the band has to re-record a song in order to perform it on a TV show.
I think they only had 3 hours to record it and mix it.
Yeah.
And I think the Musos Union...
In a studio of BBC's choice, obviously, or under supervision of a musicians' union member being wherever they're going to do it.
And I think the Glitter Band went to Plan B, because I've seen a document that I think might have been sent to Jerry, and it was about the time of People Like You, where he's told that he's booked for 2 3-hour sessions. I think one would have been one of Gary's records, and that was at Mayfair Sound Studios for TV recording. So I suspect they did those at Mayfair. Well, obviously Mike would have wanted to do them at Mayfair, wouldn't he? He wouldn't have done them in at the BBC.
So they've invited a musicians' union member to that recording.
But it was 3 hours to record and to mix. Well, it's been good for us. It's good for us.
Yeah, the band were very, very good live, let's face it. So there's a lot of confidence for them as a band to do that.
With all of this TV promotion scheduled in the middle of a short tour, it appears that there was a determination to give Goodbye My Love every chance at reaching number 1. That didn't quite happen, but the Northern Ireland shows were sold out. Andy, we know that the gigs in England during this period didn't always sell out, though they usually performed at respectable houses. At this time in their career, do you think the Glitter Band may have over-toured some parts of the UK, and specifically England?
Yeah, I mean, you could add shows they may have done with GG as well to that.
True.
I guess. But, some of these things are seasonal. If you're dealing with 14, 15-year-olds... their parents often will go with them or not go with them, or if it's the wrong time of year, sometimes you get a lower turn-up rate. Anyway.
But they did a lot of touring. You look at that first tour at the end of 73, early 74. A couple of months later, Angel Face comes out and they're off again. Then a few months after that, with Just For You, they do another long tour. And these, particularly the second and third, were long tours and they went everywhere. So talking about tours, we have a Scottish tour coming up in early February. But before that, let's listen to a few Goodbye My Love cover versions. Here's one that's probably the most well-known. I bought this record the day after I heard it on a Victorian country radio station you could pick up in Melbourne late at night. The DJ was an inspiring John Peel. I suppose he got away with deviating from the standard top 40 format with a bit or maybe a lot of country thrown in, because it was a small radio station, late at night, no one was listening, apart from me. The Stiffs featured Phil Hendricks on guitar. You might recognise that name because Phil wrote the excellent sleeve notes for the Cherry Red 4-CD Glitter Band The Albums box set, as well as another Cherry Red release, The Singles, a 3-CD compilation. Andy, I'm just looking through those sleeve notes, and you get a credit on the box set.
Do I?
You do.
Is that the one?
You do.
Okay.
Have you got it
I
there?
don't remember which.
Actually, you haven't got
No.
it, have you?
No.
Just saw that.
I haven't got anything to hand at the moment.
Well, can you remember what you
all right.
contributed to that?
So that one.
Yeah. Because it's just your name. You just get a credit, but it doesn't say anything else.
It was pushing, if anything else, on getting listened to the band, then Paris Match, which they didn't want to bring out, and then subsequent box sets. I was talked to Mark Brennan a bit about these sort of things, and just trying to say, well, at the same time we can mention it on Facebook to try and raise awareness to go out and buy it and what have you. And obviously, in the end, they did it.
Yeah, who's Mark Brennan?
He's also known as Captain Oi. He was the guy who did all the 70s stuff and punk stuff for Cherry Red.
Yeah, gotcha.
Because Pete and I talked about trying to put a box set out ourselves, but obviously funding these sort of things, it's quite a bit of work. We thought about where we can go out to the fans and stuff, but there had been a bit of distrust previously, as people would have maybe been reticent to do a fun thing to get it out, and Cherry Red in the end did go with it. Mm-hmm. That's probably the main thing I did, trying to make sure those albums came out.
And you succeeded.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we talked about other material there was as well, sort of some of the 80s stuff, the demos and things.
Yep.
The live album, Marquee, which, inevitably, they put something out with all of that on it.
Well done.
Oh, well.
Well, yeah. But the point is, Eddie, these things don't come out of nowhere. They need some sort of driving force, don't they?
You've got to be a bit of a nuisance, really, and be persuasive. And,
often you're dealing with a lot of people who aren't particularly interested, aren't you?
I mean, to be honest, sometimes you say, well, look, I can help fund this as well. And they don't like, the pride thing or whatever comes in, they just say, oh, let's do it. But, I would have wanted to make it happen one way or another. And actually, we got one more album out of it, one more box set out of it than we expected. Yeah, so I think that's why. I thought I was on an earlier compilation as well for some reason. I don't know why, photos or something, but...
Yeah, that's right, you do. Now,
but anyway, we're
no, you do. That was, I think you get a credit
digressing.
on one quite a few years before the box set. I think your name appears on that one. Along with Steve Morris, of course.
Yeah. Well, Steve, he was probably doing the same thing, and he certainly provided information and photos, and probably was saying the information in your sleeve notes that these people have written is slightly wrong.
Yes, you can imagine Steve saying that, and you can also imagine that Steve,
and rightly so,
he'd be 100% right, wouldn't he?
Yeah, because there are in most of the sleeve notes some errors.
Look, it's unavoidable. Even when you have two or three people proofreading, they, errors still sort of sneak through, don't they?
Yeah, but anyway, we digress massively again.
Oh, we do a lot of that, don't we?
Just a bit. Did I mention that Phil Hendricks is a member of the original Jukebox Heroes?
I don't think you did.
With Pete. No? Oh, right. Well, I was probably wanting to say that, but we went off the point, really.
We did.
So he, as you say, wrote some sleeve notes for a couple of those albums.
Next cover, which is the Hollywood Flares. I reckon they might be from Hollywood, south of Birmingham, rather than its namesake in Los Angeles. And I also think they may have been familiar with the Stiffs version of Goodbye My Love.
Yeah, another track, as you said, is very similar to the Stiffs version. Oh, actually, another thing going back to the Stiffs version is that Jerry and Pete were present for that recording session as well.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've gone back a bit. I didn't. But
No,
I
that's
thought
all right. That's all right. It's worth saying.
Yeah. Hollywood Flares, say, a little bit different from the Stiffs version, but along the same sort of lines. Yeah, good. But we've also got another track by Hollywood Flares, which is this one.
Now, we missed that one when we were covering the Hey Al in, I think, about 4 podcasts, but we are playing this version because it's clearly influenced by the Glitter Band and Hello recordings, though there's a touch of the early 60s arrangements in there as well. I like it, lots of influences, but it's not a copy. What about yourself, Andy?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's not as good as Glitter Band version, but certainly influenced by that and Hello's version.
Here's one from Germany.
Please don't leave me now. I need you more than ever. Don't be sad. Don't let me see you cry. I'll love you forever. Think of me when you are far away.
That's from a German-Austrian Top of the Pops remake-type compilation LP titled 16 Top Hits Volume 1. It reached the top 15 in Austria and made the top 5 in Germany, so there were probably some royalties for Goodbye My Love's writer, Jerry Shepherd. These re-recordings are usually pretty shoddy, I should say, but I don't mind this one. Albums such as this were recorded very quickly, and I've got a theory, Andy. My theory is that the worst tracks were recorded just before lunch, and I think it's obvious why, and at the end of the day, when everyone was watching the clock. Maybe Goodbye My Love was recorded just after lunch, or could the jaded studio musicians have liked the song?
It may have done. I mean, it's played very much by the numbers.
It is. But Eddie, a few less numbers than the other covers on that album, because some of them are pretty rough. I mean, they seem to have put a bit more effort into Goodbye My Love.
Yeah, it's listenable, that's the main thing.
I like this next one. To make a pop song work in this style, it needs to have a strong, memorable melody.
Interesting. The sort of very much more laid back version. It's almost like a TV theme. It's Hitchhiker's Guide to not Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Blake, certain people know Blake 7 or something. Theme tune,
probably around the same time.
Yeah, which was obviously done by an orchestra, maybe James Last. I don't know, but
James Last was an orchestra leader. And
that's right.
And what I can almost see in that, well, a couple of things. First is listening to the verse. "Goodbye, My Love" is such a good song. It's such a good melody, which really comes through in that version. And I could imagine some sort of possibly cheesy 1970s type big budget variety show with the James Last dancers.
Oh yeah.
If they did exist, dancing away to that. You can just almost sort of hear that, can't you? Or see it, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, his Wikipedia entry, if it hasn't been changed, is a fascinating read.
If it hasn't been changed, that's really funny, Andy, because it's an absolute classic. Put it this way. If James was still alive, that Wikipedia entry would be very different. He was, for someone who put out, I think he was interviewed a few years before he died, and someone was trying to get a rise out of him. They said something along the lines of, so you've made a career out of putting out sort of really cheesy orchestral cover versions. Do you know what Jim's response was?
No.
Yeah, that's right. How good's that? So from Germany...
Well, if you think about it,
go on.
Mike did albums
he
like
did.
That. Migration.
He did indeed.
What have you.
Maybe Mike inspired James Last.
Well, I mean, I think it was probably more all the vogue in the 60s. I don't know, the 70s was probably... it was probably time to give up on those sort of things, really.
It's lounge music, Andy. That came back a few years ago.
Yeah.
Lounge music was a big thing.
Yeah, I suppose if you go down to the local ballroom, I think when I was younger, you go down to the local ballroom and the show band there would play stuff like that. That's probably worth bearing in mind that he's only doing what probably did on their appearances. Yeah.
From Germany, and by the way, James Last was German. Let's take a trip over to France.
Yeah.
On vivait en dehors de tout, ébloui, les yeux dans les yeux. Les voisins s'attendrissaient sur nous. Nous étions des amants fabuleux, destinés à triompher sans fin, dévoués à un bonheur certain. Soudain, goodbye my love, goodbye my love. En un jour il ne resta plus rien. Soudain, goodbye my love, goodbye my love. Plus une heure de toi ne m'a.
Yeah, so that's an artist called Sheila, who's very successful in France, and her version of Goodbye My Love was the B-side of Patrick Mon Chéri. Yeah, so very interesting to hear that version.
I was listening to the track recently, Andy, and what leapt out was that it seems to have had a lot of work put into it for what was to become a B-side. But it turns out it was more than a B-side. It was the final track on the L'amour qui brûle en moi album. And the single reached number 3 on the French charts in 1976, while the album peaked at number 2. And as an aside, another track off the same album, Flagrant délit de tendresse, in its original English form, Slow Talking Boy, was released as a single by Mud the next year. As you've just said, Andy, Sheila was huge in France. She had 10 top 10 albums and 51 top 10 singles, of which 20 reached number 1. Jerry must have known about Goodbye My Love's success in France from his royalty checks. Did he ever bring up that topic with you, Andy?
No, but I mean, that would be my fault, really. And I look back and think, look, most of those questions I missed out on asking. No, he didn't ever bring it up. He would never volunteer stuff generally. Have you heard my version of Goodbye My Love? He's just too you know, he didn't do that. He just didn't. Which is a shame, really. Yeah.
If apart from being on the B side of the single, that's one thing. But the album reached number 2, and it's the last track on the album. So the track wasn't buried on that album; it was featured.
Yeah.
And he never mentioned it.
No. It's a shame. I mean, he didn't sound his own trumpet at all, really.
Obviously, the case.
And as I say, I kicked myself for not asking about those sort of things.
But as you said, he just wouldn't volunteer information like that, would he? Because if it was me, I would be very proud.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, he should be.
Or maybe he's quietly proud.
Well, I hope so.
We've played 2 tracks for Germany. Let's even the score by playing a second French Goodbye My Love cover. This one's from 1975, the same year as the Glitter Band original. That track was produced by Andrew Oldham, or Andrew Luke Oldham, whose main claim to fame was as the Rolling Stones manager and producer for the first 5 years of their career. It appears that Andrew is quite a character. A couple of quotes from his Wikipedia entry. A self-proclaimed hustler, Oldham spent teenage summers swindling tourists in French towns. And it gets better, Andy, with this one. According to the Rolling Stones website, accounts regarding the value of his musical input to the Stones recordings vary from negligible to absolute zero. Despite that rather harsh assessment, I reckon he did a good job with his cover of Goodbye My Love. What do you think of your namesake's work, Andy? He seems to have created quite an impressive wall of sound.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my favourite version, but yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I don't know what all that business about his involvement in the Stones and stuff. Maybe he just traded on other people's work. I don't know.
Well, maybe his production skills improved over the years.
Yeah.
This is going to be one episode, but to do the story of Goodbye My Love justice, I reckon it looks like we need a part 2. So I think we should stop here, Andy. What do you think?
Yes, certainly right time to take a break. I don't know how long we've gone on now, but I think we ought to close this part of the episode down.
So there's part 2 to come. Thanks, Andy.
That's all right. Thank you, and speak to you when we do the next one soon.